Welcome to Front Office Pros. Today we're going to be talking about our IDP Week 8 recap and our IDP Pro Tip of the Week for Week 9. With us today is a special guest who's making his first appearance on Front Office Pros, which is none other than Kyle Bellefeuil. Kyle is a contributor over at Football Guys. Kyle, thanks so much for joining the show today.
Thanks for having me on, guys, man. I'm excited to hang out with you guys and talk a little ball. We were already having some laughs before we got kicked off here and talking about some Go Blue here with Joe. And excited to be here.
That's the goal. That's the mission of today's video, is for everyone to know the Go Blue. John Harbaugh's not going anywhere.
Never.
No, sir.
All right,
Jackie's forever.
Hike.
So talking over a Week 8 recap here, guys. Who was your stud from Week 8 there, Kyle?
Yeah, my stud this week was Jermaine Johnson, defensive end, edge for the New York Jets. He had a very exploitable Week 8 matchup against a poor Giants offensive line, and he went right to work. 6 tackles, 3 solos, 2 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, and 4 quarterback hits. So, you just love it when the matchup's juicy and they get it done for you. Johnson, he's had a really nice second season here in the league. He's been grading well as far as PFF grades go, and he's starting to, pick it up a little bit in the pressure department too. He's got 14 pressures over his last 3 games after generating just 5 in his first 4. So he's really starting to get it done off the edge, which you love to see. So it's been a really good sophomore campaign for Johnson, and it was just really good to see him step it up in a plus matchup against the Giants. And I was especially happy because I had him in about 4 of my lineups. So it was all smiles for me. So, really excited to see him in the second season start to really figure it out.
Yeah, I got to say, when he was drafted in the first round last year out of Florida State, he slid. People thought he was going to be a top 10, top 15 pick. And then his rookie season really didn't do that much. Right. And then you saw the Jets take Will McDonald pretty early in the draft. I actually liked Will McDonald. I actually didn't think he was going to be drafted that high. But his bending ability, which I think is a huge component as far as where they can get to that quarterback and get the sack. Mm-hmm. I actually thought McDonald was going to be the one right out of the gate to be that guy. But just goes to show, hopefully you didn't move off of Jermaine Johnson because, like you said, his sophomore campaign, he's really starting to show some flashes, starting to have some more consistency for that New York Jets defense. So I'm with you. I mean, if you drafted him in your leagues, I think in our league he was drafted right at the last pick in the first round. But maybe if you drafted him, depending on your scoring, maybe in that second or third round in your dynasty leagues, you got to be happy about your investment because he is starting to come to form here.
Yeah, man, I like the Will McDonald call too. I was a fan of his talent as well. He had a really nice career at Iowa State. Like you said, the bend, he's got the length, a little thin, but like he does what he does well. There's a wicked spin move that gave people all kinds of problems throughout his playing time at Iowa State and the pre-draft process. And I was a big Jermaine Johnson fan too. He transferred to Florida State and he had that big last season there. I really liked his tape. I thought he was able to handle, not only did he have great numbers as far as his sacks, tackles for loss and all that, but like I thought he handled the run game pretty well. It looked like there was something there to work with. You're always looking for guys that can handle a steady volume off the edge too. But like I think him and McDonald could be a nice duo. As it takes pass rushers a little time to figure it out. So if both of them, get that trajectory to be as good as we hope, it could be a nice little duo there in New York.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Jermaine Johnson, I wasn't the biggest fan out of him, when he first came out, but definitely, just goes to show, stay patient with these defensive guys. They take a little bit of time to develop and really before they execute. But yeah, I think that is a nice tandem between him and McDonald that the Jets will have for years to come here.
Well, it is interesting. You've actually seen Bryce Huff actually come out of nowhere and actually play pretty well. And I think it's kind of curtailed Will McDonald's opportunity because it's really been Huff and from what I can recollect, it's mostly been Huff and Jermaine Johnson.
Yeah, Huff's been great, man. And he's got game. He's, his snap share, he's kind of a, pass rush specialist type of role. He said his snaps are starting to pick up a little bit. He's getting closer to that 50% range, which is nice. but he's good at what he does, man. And there's a guy too. I think he's a great stash because he's going to be a free agent this offseason. So I don't know if he could get himself a nice little deal if he keeps doing what he's doing. I think he's got, like 2.5 or 3 sacks over his last few games. So he's really been playing well, and you've seen flashes when he's had opportunities. So he's a guy that stash where you can as well because he's got a serious game too.
Yeah, his speed is just really noticeable when you watch the games. I mean, his speed to get around the corner is really something.
No, for sure, man.
So, Joe, who do you have as your stud from Week 8?
Yeah, I'm going to the same game as Kyle, and I'm going with Kayvon Thibodeau. He had 9 tackles, 6 solo, 3 sacks, forced a fumble. It's a guy that we've talked about in the past, really being kind of feast or famine. But he had a good matchup against the Jets here, and he definitely was able to feast here. And he had a pass rush grade of 86%, and then he also had a really high snap count of 97% in this game, and just really, really showed out.
Yeah, I love that call, man. A slow start for Thibodeau those first few weeks, but he's super talented, man, and it was just a matter of time before it all came together. The Giants team just, it was a tough start for that team, to say the least. So Thibodeau's figuring it out, and and you gotta love the volume too that he's been able to handle. So, I mean, it's just it's really nice, and what a huge week, right? 3 sacks this week. That's pretty awesome.
Well, the impressive part is he's really been doing it without Azeez Ojulari. I mean, I believe I want to say he's either missed the whole season or he's missed at least several games. So for him to, a lot of times, you can have double teams and stuff in that situation because they don't have to key on that other opposing edge rusher. But I like Thibodeau a lot. I'm talking to Go Blue guys here, so I better be careful. I actually had Thibodeau ranked higher than Hutchinson. I think Thibodeau is going to be the better player down the line. They're both good. I mean, you can't be upset with either one at this point. But Thibodeau's starting to turn it on. That was, I think this was his best game, I think, right? I mean, in his career, would you say?
He might have had one other real big game last year where he exploded for a 40 burger, but this is up there. I could be mistaken, but I thought he had one huge game last year too. But this is up there for sure.
Yeah, it might have been a career game. I mean, you get 3 sacks in a game, and that's that's pretty that's pretty damn good.
Yeah, no, it's tough to beat for sure. Yeah.
So I was going to check it, but never mind. My stud from the week was edge rusher defensive end Boye Mafe. He had from the Seattle Seahawks. He had 3 solo tackles, 5 tackles, assisted, 4 QB hits, and a sack. Now this is in the past 5 games. So out of 5 out of 6 games here, he's recorded a sack so far this season. Had a defensive grade of 78.3 this past week. I think the former second-round pick out of Minnesota is starting to break out here, guys. So I think this is exciting if you're a Seahawks fan or if you have him in fantasy because he didn't really show much his rookie year. He has that type. Pete Carroll has a type. So we thought that maybe he'd get there. Thinks he finally is doing it. And that's with Uchenna Nwosu now out for the year. He's still contributing at a high level. So they brought in Frank Clark. Now he's there as well. But I'm liking Boye Mafe, guys.
Yeah, I mean, 5 in a row. That's a streak, man, in my book for sure, right? 5 games in a row with the sack. Yeah, Boye Mafe, he's another guy in year 2 that's really picking up steam. We were talking about that with Jermaine Johnson. And that Seattle team's pushing now. They lost Nwosu, who was, a stud for them. And just a great signing. And, he had a big year last year. And they lost him, unfortunately. And Maffe's going to have to step up and he's going to soak up some more snaps. They just went and got Leonard Williams to add to that front. They got, like you said, they brought in Frank Clark, Darrell Taylor, another guy who just got a sack this last week. He's gonna get some more run. But yeah, I love that Mafe call, man. He's playing really well. I liked him coming out of Minnesota too. He just had a ton of juice, and I live in Big Ten country, so I got to see enough of him to see him flash. So that's a great call, man. I think he's playing great.
Yeah, I like the Mafe call as well, Steven. Just watching the Seahawks games, he's a guy that's just been flashing on you. You know, you see him in the backfield all the time, and Kyle mentioned, you know, 5 straight games with a sack. Guy's just been, you know, an animal living in the backfield lately. Really like the call.
Well, and honestly, you know, like your point, Kyle, on the fact that he's got great support on the defensive line. Not only does he have now they trade Leonard, now they got a Leonard Williams. They also signed Draymond Jones, you know, former Bronco on there. So you know that interior pass rush can help significantly for those guys if they can push the pocket. So I think Mafe is going to continue to be a solid contributor.
Yeah, man, it's a great point. I agree. That front is it's got a lot of moving parts coming in, and guys, you know, like you said, Draymond Jones was a good signing before the season as well. So a lot of guys that can make some stuff happen.
So are you enjoying this video so far? Well, if you are, show your support to our new channel by hitting the subscribe button and liking this video. We'll be creating videos all NFL season long, so you're not going to want to miss what we have in store. So going over to the duds from week 8, who is your dud, Kyle?
My dud is Pete Warner, linebacker for the New Orleans Saints. I thought week 8 was going to be kind of a get-right game for Pete Warner. I talked about this with Jake Colhagen on the preview pod with the IDP show fellas last week. And, he had a nice week 8 matchup against Indianapolis. It's a favorable matchup for linebackers. And it just turned out that was false hope because he had just 4 tackles. And, in fact, he has just 17 tackles over his last 4 games, so that's 4 1/4 tackles a game. And Werner is more of a guy who's a tackle floor type. He doesn't necessarily provide you with a ton of splash plays, just kind of not his MO right now. And you know, it's just not been good. He's just not been an efficient tackler, and he's just not giving us much production right now. And I was hoping he could right the ship here this past week, and 4 tackles, 3 solos is just not going to get it done. And, you know, Werner was a guy that had a little bit of hype surrounding him coming into his 3rd season. You know, there's a lot of people. I was a fan of him. I thought we were going to look at a really nice year 3 from Werner. We've seen him be plenty productive at certain points, you know, when he's given ample opportunity and stuff, and he set some nice tackle numbers. But it's certainly been a disappointing season so far for Werner as far as where we were hoping, you know, rolling into the year.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to Pete Warner, I mean, I want to say out of Ohio State, right? Big Ten country.
Yeah.
You know, I think when it comes to him, I think that I agree. I think he was a guy that people were targeting to take that next jump. He started showing some flashes in his 2nd season, and, you know, really hasn't been able to take over. And here's the thing, too, right? Caden Ellis left New Orleans, went to Atlanta, right? So that was hoping he had more additional opportunity. And then he's got the, you know, older veteran guy with Demario Davis, but he just really hasn't been able to take advantage of that, which is unfortunate. I think I don't have any of them, but I think at this point, is it too late to just be like, move on? Like, I don't know if he's going to be that stud that we think what he could be.
I'm still holding a little bit of hope for him. You know, it was disappointing. I thought this was going to be a week where we could get a little bit of momentum going. I'm not quite ready to give up, being that Demario Davis is 33-ish. I mean,
he's old.
He was the rare guy that like got better as he got older, which still freaking blows my mind, because as I get older, I just get worse at just about freaking everything. So it's like good for him though. But you know, so that was kind of the thing. You know, you're thinking Werner's going to take over and be, you know, the lead guy here. That was kind of the trajectory we were hoping for. And I'm still holding on a little bit of hope, but obviously it's dwindling, because it's just, even in, you know, decent matchups, he's still not giving you what you're looking for, you know. And, you know, in Dynasty, obviously he's a younger guy. You're going to be, you know, more amped to hold on a little bit longer. But, you know, redraft, I wouldn't cut him necessarily unless you're picking up in a shallow league somebody insane sitting on your wire. But, you know, you're probably going to sit him, you know, for better options in certain weeks when they pop up. So.
Yeah, like you, Steve. I mean, this was a guy I had higher hopes for as well. You know, you mentioned Caden Ellis moving on. Thought this was a big opportunity for Warner. He, you know, was impressive last year, showed some flashes, and he was good. Thought he was going to build off of that. But, yeah, it's good to call out Kyle. He really has been disappointing so far.
So, Joe, who was your dud from week 9?
Yeah, you know, I'm going to go with Leonard Williams, newly acquired guy for the Seattle Seahawks. You know, he just had 1 tackle this past game, you know, against the Jets, despite having a decent matchup there, and he still played 81% of snaps as well. So it wasn't like he wasn't on the field. Just didn't do a whole heck of a lot for you.
Yeah, Williams, I'm with you, man. It's a good call, Joe. Like he's had a few games here or there this season where he's got what, a sack and a half just looking here on the year, but like it's been duds, majority of the time, and yeah, he's been tough to put in your lineup each week. Hopefully, the move to Seattle gives him a little juice playing for a team that's a competitor, and we can see Leonard Williams. I still think he's got some talent. We've seen it. It's just it wasn't happening for the Giants, and it was a disappointing week. It's a good call, man. Like the opportunity was there against the Jets, it just didn't happen.
Yeah.
Well, even emphasize too, depending on if you watch that game, I mean, the offenses were just slugs. I mean, there was nothing going on there. So it's like they had a ton of opportunities. I mean, he had a ton of opportunities to be able to succeed, and to him just have a tackle, that's bad. Good for you, Joe, for trading him in the offseason. You were kind of iffy about it. You traded him away and got some draft capital. Looks like that could pan out for you. But when it comes down to it, I think the Seattle move is going to be a good move for him. I think his value definitely appreciated. I guess my question to you guys is, when it comes to Leonard Williams going forward, is he a guy that you're starting week in and week out? If, let's say, you're starting, I know some leagues, they even have defensive tackle. Well, let's say hypothetically you're starting 2 each week. Is he a must start at this point?
If we're starting 2 DTs, it depends on your options. If he's your DT2, I'd be all right with it. I might give it a week and see what it looks like, but is he must start? Like, I think I might give it a week before I see what, where he's lining up, what his role looks like, what we're doing there, now with some of these newer guys brought in, him and Frank Clark, and with, like you said, they brought in Draymond Jones there, and just kind of see what it looks like with Leonard Williams. But yeah, I think I agree with you, Steve. Like it's his value is appreciating going to Seattle. It's a good move for him. I'm cool with him as a DT2 if you have to do it, but I'd like to give it a week if you could.
Yeah, I would like to take the wait and see approach as well if you can. I definitely don't think he's like he's not a DT1 that you're just going to start week in and week out. Maybe he gets to that point, but I would like to see like what his snap share is, and I'm assuming with the players there, he's going to be on some type of rotational level, so he's not going to be getting as heavy snaps as he is with the Giants, possibly. I mean, I think that's what I'd like to kind of wait and see what his involvement and role is. But I think if you have to play him as your DT2, I think you could do worse, and he could be worth a shot.
My only thing is, didn't they give up a 2nd-round pick to acquire him? I mean, that's a huge amount of draft capital to get a guy that's just going to be a situational player in that defense. I mean, and I want to say he's a free agent possibly next year on top of it. I don't know that for sure, but I don't know that to me, that's a pretty penny to pay.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I think that it's a great point, right? A 2nd-round pick. I would think they would work his volume up. I'd just be like, the first week I'd be a little iffy on what his role, like how big of a role, like Joe said, the snap share right away. That would be my thing about giving it a week, just to see if they ease him in or if they just pedal down with his snap share right away. But yeah, you're right. It's a great point. That 2nd-round investment is hefty enough. Like they plan on using this guy too.
Real quick. Would you either of you trade, if you're a contender, would you trade for him? There's a mystery right now. We don't know if he's going to be, depending on his snap share, right? We see the potential. We don't know. Wait and see. I hear from you guys. Would you, if you're a contender, you need a D tackle, would you trade for him?
Yeah, if the price is right, for sure. If you can get him cheap, play into the he hasn't been great this year, and type deal. Yeah, for sure. I'd give it. I think he's worth a shot. I've always been a believer in his talent. As far as I've had him on a few of my squads as a defensive tackle, he can get it done for you. And I don't like Joe said, I don't necessarily think he's a DT1 or anything, but I think you could get him cheap. A cheap investment to see if you can get a solid DT2 numbers down the stretch here is a nice investment, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're a contending team needing a defensive tackle, I think now would be a good time. I mean, he's He's had a couple of good flash games, but for the most part, like we've been saying, he's been kind of down. So this could be a buy low opportunity for a guy that has a lot of potential. And, we'll see if the Seattle Seahawks able to bring him some new life and being on a winning team, instead of in the dumpster bin with the Giants.
I concur. So heading over to my dud from the week is actually we might as well just call this the NFL trade deadline special, guys. But my dud was defensive end edge rusher Chase Young. He had a defensive grade of 52.6 last week. He played a total of 50 snaps. He had only one solo tackle, but he did have 3 hurries, but that didn't help you in the box score for your fantasy football matchup. So he probably didn't get you very many points at all. So I guess my only thing is when it comes to Chase Young, he just got traded to the 49ers for a 3rd-round pick. This is a very interesting landing space, pairing back up Big Ten country. This is another theme, guys. Going back in with Nick Bosa as edge rushers. I mean, is this the time that Chase Young is just going to absolutely smash? Or is he just this big, beautiful name that people are going to be like, man, why did I think that this guy's going to continue to do well? He just really hasn't lived up to the hype.
I think he's been playing really well this year. Like you said, there was a lot of people heading into the year that were doubting him. Obviously, he didn't play well, got injured, hadn't played well coming off that injury. But this year, he's really turning around. He's grading well. His pressure numbers look good. He threw up the dud this week. Definitely a bummer. But I mean, you gotta like pairing him and Nick Bosa together, especially with Chase Young having a nice resurgence this year. And that aggressive 49ers front, that's a heck of a duo off the edge, man. And, you got those 2 guys on the outside, and you got Javon Hargrave and Eric Armstead on the inside. I mean, like, good luck.
Yeah, I mean, he went to a great spot, and I feel like he should excel opposite of Bosa. But the one concern I have is just seeing the inconsistencies kind of that he's had with the Commanders. And they have a great D-line as well.
True.
And they had Montez Sweat opposite of them. They had some guys. Maybe I think you could probably get the advantage to the San Francisco 49ers secondary, which maybe that helps. And quarterbacks might have to play out of the ball a little longer where the Commanders really don't have the corners, and maybe that affects it. Quarterbacks can get rid of it faster. But, we'll see. I mean, as far as a landing spot for him, though, I mean, it's hard to find a better spot for him than the 49ers.
Good counterpoint there, Joe. I like it. That's where we're doing like pros and cons over here between you two. I think that Chase Young has this his potential could be immense in this landing spot. My gut tells me though, I don't know. He's the glitz and glam guy. I actually think, although I don't like the price that the Bears paid compared to what the Niners paid, Montez Sweat's actually been more like he's not a flashy name, but I mean he's been way more consistent. He's been actually a much better performer than Chase Young. Between the 2 of them, it'll be really interesting. I think if you're a Chase Young owner, there's no way on earth you're trading him. You're riding this guy out. I mean, you got to see how this turns out. The potential is just oozing. You can't let that guy go now. You got to see how this goes.
No, I think absolutely, man. You got to ride it out. It's a great, like, if you're gonna get traded, like Joe said, that's a great spot to go. The one thing that it'll take a little bit of a knock was he was seeing some really high snap volume for Washington, and I don't know that will continue to be as high in San Francisco. He's gonna see the field plenty, right, for a defensive end, but I just don't know that he's gonna start creeping up to that 85%, 90% snap share in San Francisco. I don't know that that's going to be the case, but so that would be another thing. It's a little bit of a knock going there, but it's like, it's a good spot, and I'm riding it out. I have Chase Young in a few spots, and I'm with you on Montez. So I think Montez Sweat's a really, really good player. I don't quite understand what the Bears were doing, giving up a 2nd-round pick for him. But hey, whatever. But they got to pay him now. But I mean, there's a team that needed a pass rusher in the worst way, and they got themselves a good one. And I wonder how happy he is to go from Washington to Chicago at this certain point. But he'll be happier once they pay him, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think so. I think at the moment though, he's got to be like, man, what the heck? I go to the Bears. My teammate just got to go to the San Francisco 49ers. Right? He's got to be like, what is going on here? But yeah, and maybe there could be a scenario too where the decrease in snap count for Chase Young actually helps them. The 49ers are able to keep guys fresh on a rotation. Maybe that actually helps in his favor just to keep him fresh and keep that speed off the edge.
Yeah, it could be interesting. I will put a bug in here. I do think because of how flashy he is and because of the potential, you have a window right now. This is where the mystery is. If you wanted to sell high, you probably could sell him for quite a bit. I know it'd be tough, but it'd be I don't have him, but it'd be something I'd feel out the market a little bit. I'd see what people are willing to give me for him. Maybe I'd be willing to move him. We'll see.
I dig that. There's ride the intrigue, see what you can get.
Yeah. Absolutely. You got to put those feelers out there.
Yeah.
So going over to week 9, fellas, we're going to go with our IDP Pro tip of the week. So what do you got for your pro tip, Kyle?
So my tip of the week is Mr. Jack Sanborn, Agent Jack Sanborn for the Chicago Bears. I don't know if you guys have seen any recent news on Tremaine Edmonds. I was looking around. I hadn't seen any updates. Had you guys at all?
No.
Okay.
No. Not that I've seen, no.
Yeah, there hasn't been much coming out. Well, Tremaine Edmonds hurt his knee. It looked to be a pretty bad injury.
I agree.
It was a tough looking ordeal, but the reports are he avoided a season-ending type of injury. But I mean, you think he's not likely to play this week? I have no medical training experience.
I think he won't. I'm gonna agree with you on that.
Yeah, so it seems unlikely, and why they got a lot of money wrapped into him and looked bad. Maybe let them. They're not contending. Maybe let them drink some Gatorade, high five some dudes. Let's just take it easy for a week. So that being said, if Tremaine Edmonds is out, in comes Mr. Jack Sanborn. We saw Sanborn burst on the scene last year as an undrafted free agent, and really was he was a waiver wire wonder for a lot of IDP managers, and he could be once again if Edmonds misses some time here. Last year, in the 5 games he saw an 80+% snap share, he averaged 10.8 tackles a game, and he also added 5 tackles for a loss. And he, another guy, Big Ten country, came from Wisconsin. Those Wisconsin linebackers translate, man. TJ Edwards, the other guy in Chicago, undrafted free agent out of Wisconsin. Joe Schobert, Chris Borland. These guys that they write off, they make it happen, man. It works somehow. But so if Sanborn fills in for Edmonds this week, he's got a pretty nice matchup against New Orleans. If you look at our football guys fantasy points allowed tool, in New Orleans, he's a top 10 matchup for linebackers, so the matchup's nice. And he plays New Orleans and dump off King Derek Carr, as my buddy Jake Colquhoun called him. He's going to dump it off to Alvin Kamara. He'll have some chance for some tackles. I think Sanborn could be a nice LB3 type for you this week, filling in for Edmonds.
I gotta tell you, I've heard that nickname now a few times. Agent Jack Sanborn. It's just phenomenal.
It's great. Right?
It's phenomenal. I would say that I think it's a great call out. He was an IDP waiver wire darling last year. I actually was kicking myself because I saw him on the wire. I was actually competing that year, and I really wish I would have picked him up. But then all of a sudden which is just so crazy to me in a way. It's like you saw Agent Jack Sanborn do as well as he did. At least it looks on the box score. He looks like he did so well. And then all of a sudden you pay, buku bucks for Tremaine Edmonds and TJ Edwards. It was like, wait, what happened to Agent Jack Sanborn?
Right.
So, but he might go back to his day job, which is collecting tackles here. So I would say I think LB3. I think that's not enough. I think he's going to be. You're looking possibly LB2, LB. Maybe LB1 if he's.
Wow, that's a bold take.
I'm trusting in Agent Jack Sanborn.
I like it, man. 007 Agent Sanborn, LB1, week 9.
Yeah, I still remember, Steve, when I watching this guy in the preseason last year, and I was like, man, I think this Jack Sanborn guy could be something. And you're like, I don't know, it's just preseason, doesn't really mean anything. And then when he actually got the opportunity, he was very good. I regret not having him on my team because I liked him so much in the preseason. But I think it's a great call, Kyle. I mean, if Edmonds is for sure out and this guy plays, I mean, it'll be a good play.
So, Joe, what is your IDP Pro tip of the week for week 9?
Yeah, my pro tip of the week is, another fill-in guy. Minkah Fitzpatrick's already ruled out for Thursday's game. And if you need a safety and a fill-in and need somebody to start, think you can start Keanu Neal. He played 97% of the snaps, and the impressive part is he played 40% of the snaps in the box. The guy getting the box snap, he's close to the ball. Plays Thursday night against the Titans. They like to run the ball. He's going to be close to the ball, and I think he's going to get you a decent amount of tackles.
No, man, I like that call too, right? You got to like the usage being uptight like that. You know, it gives you a nice tackle for your safeties. And without Fitzpatrick, somebody's got to come up out of that back end. So that's a good call.
Look at you, Joe, going deep. I like it. You know, Keanu Neal was at one point a converted linebacker, I think, for the Cowboys. Then obviously he's gone back to his old role at safety. But you know, with the Steelers too, you know, Cole Holcomb hasn't been as good as we thought he would be. And then they also have Landon Roberts. I think sometimes you need to, if there's a void there, it kind of allows for that safety to play in that box and be able to get that high tackle floor. So I think it's a good waiver wire call. I think he's available in our league, Joe. I wonder if you're going to pick him up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I really have a need there, but I guess take a look at him.
He's not showing you all his cards, Steve.
I know. That's right. That's right, Kyle. So
the best.
Yeah,
that's right. So my IDP pro tip of the week for week 9 is he could be available in your leagues. If he is, it's a shame. But if he is, go at him. And I don't know if I should. I'm not saying to start him. The tip is to add him. If you have him, I may consider starting him. And that's defensive end edge rusher Keon White, rookie out of the New England Patriots. The rookie played his most snaps last week, which was 62 total snaps, which was tied for 6th most amongst defensive ends. I was shocked. that he got that many snaps, and he tied 6th amongst defensive ends. He only had 3 total tackles and 2 hurries, but he is playing the Washington Commanders. And if we know anything, they are a sieve when it comes to their offensive line. And they currently have allowed for the most sacks all year, tied with the Giants, with 41 total sacks. The former second-round pick of Georgia Tech, I really, really liked him coming out of Georgia Tech. He's kind of he can play inside and outside. I just felt like he fit the Belichick mold. He was just the type of guy that Belichick would know how to use. For whatever reason, he's been using Anthony Jennings. Wasn't expecting that. But I'm really liking Keon White. I think we might start seeing some ascension here. So I'm saying go ahead and make sure that you have him on your roster. Maybe you could go trade for him. I don't know. People are probably like, who? But I'm telling you, I think he's a good ad.
No, it's a good call, man. I liked Keon White too. And it's a great call. I thought that he fit the Belichick, system. It just like his play style, his versatility, right? When they drafted him. And like, it's a good call because pick him up now because he plays Washington's Swiss cheese offensive line and Sack Howell. And,
I've never heard that one before. That's a good one.
I want to say Josh Raymer from the IDP show said that. And so I can't say Sam Howell anymore once I heard. So shout out Josh for that one. I'm pretty sure it was Josh. Once I heard Sack Howell, it's over. That's all I hear now. But he's on pace to get sacked about 190 times. So get Keon White now, because if he does have a big game with the opportunity in front of him this week, you're going to be happy you picked him up this week rather than waiting a week. So that's a great call, Steve.
Yeah, I like the call, Steve. And somebody's got to emerge on this, defensive line for the Patriots. Since Matthew Judon's been out, I feel like they've been searching to get some production there. You mentioned Anthony Jennings has kind of gotten that opportunity. He's been okay, but they need some sort of stability there and a guy that's really going to show out. And maybe it could be Keon White. And you're right, grab him before this good matchup, because if he does excel, price is going up.
If you need a ceiling play, start him. And I'm going to do it just so I put my money where my mouth is. I'm going to start him, even though
I was curious about that. I know you had him, and I know this is a guy you really liked, in our draft. and you got him. So I know you've been waiting for this opportunity.
That's true, but I guess to be fair, I'm my team is horrible, and I'm not really in the I'm not really looking to compete, so I don't have much to lose. But I'm still gonna start them, anyways. So thank you so much, Kyle, for joining the show with us today. Where can others find your great work?
Oh yeah, thanks for having me, guys. This was a blast, man. You can find my work over at footballguys.com. I write the weekly IDP waiver wire article over there. It drops Tuesday mornings usually. Update my dynasty ranks, at least a couple times a month. Try to keep those fresh and as often as I can. And yeah, that's where you can find all my work. And I'm on Twitter at KBell54. I don't post a ton, but I'm around. If you ever have any questions, I'm happy to help if I can.
Yeah, and if you don't follow Kyle, we highly recommend it. I would say he didn't say this, but for those of you who've been following the Jim Harbaugh saga, him and Joe have inside sources on what's going on. And if you need to ask him any questions that relates to his possible suspension, they're your guys. So make sure you tweet at them both to be able to get the input you need as far as what's going on with Jim Harbaugh.
Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. We're wearing our khakis from here until we win the Natty. It's all in. We're all in.
Well, thank you so much for watching. We'll be back next week to go through our IDP Week 9 recap, see how we did, and our pro tips of the week for Week 10. Take care, and until next time.